This is the situation that we've described before, where for a single purpose of providing care in the community, we have two checking accounts. And I will tell you, I wish it were easier than it is. We have to figure out how to balance these two checking accounts at all times. And obviously, it's not a science, it's an art, and we're having difficulty with that once again. And that's why we need to work with you to solve it. The Veterans Care Program that we outlined for you last week will solve this recurring problem permanently by modernizing and consolidating all of the community care accounts, including choice. The President's budget in 2018 and 19 provides additional funds for choice and the resources necessary to continue the ongoing modernization of VA. It requests $186.5 billion for VA, $104.3 billion in mandatory funding and $82.1 billion in discretionary funding, for a total increase of $6.4 billion or 3.6% over 2017. It provides $2.9 billion in mandatory funding to continue the choice program in 18, plus a 7.1% increase in discretionary funding for V.A.A. to improve patient access and timeliness of care. It supports the strengthening of foundational services as well as modernization and consolidating VA community care through the Veteran Care Program announced last week, so veterans can make the right decisions about their care together with their physician or provider, giving them yet another reason to choose VA. This budget reflects the President's strong personal commitment to the nation's veterans. It's also a budget we need to achieve my 5 priorities as Secretary: providing greater choice for veterans, modernizing our systems, focusing our resources towards what's most important for veterans, improving the timeliness of our services, and suicide prevention. We're already taking steps to meet the challenges that we face. At the President's direction, we've established a VA Accountability Office. The recent decisions made by the Senate and the House will help us with that. We've recently removed 2 medical center directors and 3 other senior executive service leaders. We simply will not tolerate employees who act counter to our values or put veterans at risk. I recently announced a new fraud, waste, and abuse prevention advisory committee, which will be set up and running later this summer. I've also directed the VA Central Office remain under a hiring freeze, those are for administrative positions, as we consolidate program offices, implement shared services, and realign overhead to get more money back to the field. We now have same-day services for primary care and mental health at all of our medical centers. Veterans can now access wait time data for their local VAs using an online, easy-to-use tool to understand access and quality. No other health system in the country has this type of transparency. We've made it easier for veterans to fill online healthcare applications. So much easier, in fact, that since last summer, we received 8 times as many online applications than the year before. Last month, we were able to process a disability claim in just 3 days. I said that right. A disability claim processed in 3 days using a new process called Decision Ready Claims. We'll be introducing Decision Ready Claims nationally September 1st. At our regional offices, we'll be completely paperless for claims by mid-2018. A few months ago, the Veterans Crisis Line had a call rollover rate of more than 30%. Today, that rate is less than 1%. We've launched a new predictive modeling tool called ReachVet, allowing VA to provide proactive support for veterans who are at higher risk for suicide. We're also launching a new initiative this summer, Getting to Zero, to help us end veteran suicide. This is my top clinical priority. But to keep moving forward, we're going to need your help. We've identified over 1,000 facilities that are either vacant or underutilized, and we're working now to move forward with 142 of those facilities, and with your help, we could do more of the same. We need Congress to fund our IT modernization to keep our legacy systems from failing and to replace VISTA with the system already in use by the Department of Defense. This will ultimately put all patient data in one shared system, enabling seamless care between the VA and DoD without manual and electronic exchange and reconciliation of data between separate systems. We also need Congress to authorize and overhaul our broken and failing claims appeals process. We've worked closely with VSOs and other stakeholders to draft a proposal to modernize the system, and we were pleased to see the House unite behind the bill last month. Now we just need the Senate to act. Most of all, we need Congress to ensure the continued success of choice for veterans. Veterans are responding to our modernization efforts by choosing VA more than before. To keep up with those choices, we need to fully fund choice and help us modernize and consolidate VA community care through the Veterans Care Program. The Veterans Care Program will coordinate care so veterans get the right care at the right time with the right provider, whether in a VA facility or from a high-performing VA community care provider. We just need your help to make it happen, including funding to keep up with veterans as they choose VA. Thank you, and we look forward to your questions today.
Thank you, Dr. Shulkin. We appreciate your attendance today. I want to start off with my questions on the appeals process. I have consistently said that any change in the process to improve it must include an acceleration of and dealing with the 470,000 veterans whose claims are pending today at the VA. Would you agree with that?
I would like to see that happen.
Okay. Well, I'm going to give you a second question, which will give you a chance to make a commitment on that. If both appeals reform and budget requests are adopted in this budget, would VA be able to begin accelerating decisions for those 470,000 appeals that are pending?
The appeals that are in the Board of the Board of Appeals are the ones that we're most concerned about. If the Senate votes to move the appeals modernization forward, as I think you're saying, Mr. Chairman, we will have a process to expedite those from the time that the law passes in moving forward. You're asking about the legacy claims
Correct.
And appeals. We do not have a plan to make significant progress on those. We're going to have to whittle away at them. The budget this year will add 142 more staff to the board. That will allow us to make incremental progress. But I think to deal with the backlog, we'd be looking at 2026 before we dealt with the backlog. The one hope that I have, Mr. Chairman, rather than adding a large number of staff to deal with the backlog, is that we will give current veterans who are in the appeals process the option of opting in to the new process. And if they choose to opt in, but it's going to have to be their choice, they would be able to have their appeal dealt with in the expedited fashion, in the faster fashion. So that is my hope, to be able to accelerate the backlog, to encourage veterans who unfortunately right now would have to wait years to get decisions to opt into the new process.
Well, first of all, let me commend you, because you just gave a patently honest answer to my question. Not that I had expected anything else. Mm-hmm. But it's easy for a department head sometimes to talk departmentese, and we think we heard one thing and we heard something else. But what I heard you say, in effect, as far as those legacy appeals are concerned, this really is not going to do much, even if it's adopted, to take those legacy claims and move them forward. Yes. Which means we'll still have 470,000 veterans claims out there that are old. One of them is 25 years old. I know that. That's the oldest legacy.
At least, yes.
And eventually he'll die, and we'll get that one solved. But we got 369,999 more we've got to. And I hate to, I'm going to quote now what I have heard secondhand, and I'll say up front this is secondhand. But I've been told that the VA recently told the Congressional Budget Office that VA's plan is to, quote, very gradually, end quote, address the 470,000 legacy appeals if appeals reform is passed. Is that the plan, and how long will that take? And I heard your answer being, yes, it's probably going to be very gradual, and yes, it'd be 2026 before we got to it.
Yes, yes. And Mr. Chairman, let me just add, because we share that frustration. I find it really difficult to tell people who have submitted into the appeals process that they have 6 years to wait on average to get a response. So I've asked the question, how much more would it take to get that backlog addressed?
And the answer is?
I'm not sure you want to know, because I was astounded by how much it was. Around $800 million.
Senator Sanders, Senator Tester, Senator Heller, Senator Bozeman, Senator Moran, everything we do as a committee, Senator Manchin, will pale in comparison to the hell we're going to catch if it's going to take $800 million to handle those claims before 2026. The appeals, we're going to clean up appeals prospectively in the future with what this budget proposes. But for the legacy appeals that sit out there, They're going to still be out there.
Yes.
And the anger is going to get louder and the frustration deeper.
Mm.
So we really need, you need to know the number, 800,000 will do it. We need to be prepared to try and find some way to do that, because all that's going to happen is there are a lot of people who are going to get worse, more and more anguish, less and less service, and it's going to cause us more and more problems with our new programs we try and bring in place. So thank you for being candid about that. I want all of us to be aware as members of this committee what we're dealing with, and we've got to make the hard decisions. One of them is going to be to get those legacy claims done and not let them build up in the future, because when you do put your new program in that's going to solve all the problems prospectively, it sure is hell better, because if we fix the ones that are back there and then we have another build-up, we're going to be madder and wet-horned. Is that not right, John?
Mm-hmm.
Now, very quickly, and I took too much time on that, but I thought that ought to be out on the table. When an American citizen signs up in the United States military and commits themselves to a period of service, carries out that service, and it meets the qualifications necessary for them to be qualified for VA health care in their retirement or when they leave the service, then we are obligated as a nation to pay for those benefits. Is that not correct?
That is correct.
Does anybody up here at the dais disagree with that? This is not a trick, by the way. I'm just trying to get everybody engaged. We did choice when Senator Sanders and Senator McCain did a great job of leadership 36 months ago on that. Mm-hmm. We did choice to address the backlog, the waiting time periods, and things of that nature. We did some good things, and it brought about some problems, which we have illuminated and have begun to solve. We're now in a situation, and you alluded to it in your remarks, where you need to find some money to finish out choice in this current budget period by moving some money from one part of the VA budget to the other. I just want to make sure I'm right on this. You have 7 accounts that fund health care benefits, is that correct?
Community care.
Community care, but there's 7 accounts.
Yeah. 7.
One of those is
right.
choice. One of those is community care, care in the community. One of those is X, one. So when you ask to move that money so you have enough money, you're not asking for new money to be given to you by appropriators or by the Congress. You're asking to move existing appropriated money for health care benefits under one stovepipe in the VA to another stovepipe to achieve balance. But it's no new appropriation. Am I correct?
That is correct. We have enough money to be able to make sure that all veterans will get the care that they need. We need your help to figure out the best solution about how to get more money into the choice account.
And I'm raising this only as a good talking point for all of us on the committee to have a discussion, which I'm sure we will have on this. But I want to get to that point also. But we get bogged down sometimes in legislative speak, like words like mandatory and discretionary and this and that acronym, when it's all the same money in the case you're talking about. It's for veterans' health care benefits. It's in your current appropriations. It's not any new money. We're not raising any expenditure to the taxpayer. We're just trying to meet our obligations to our veterans. So we need to find out the way to do that on not just a stopgap manner, but permanent. And one of those ways might be to see to it that all the veterans' benefits for health care are paid out of one account under the Secretary of the VA. Is that not correct?
That would make sense to me, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Tester.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Once again, thank you for being here, Dr. Shulkin. You talked about, and I want to just kind of follow up on the Chairman's questions. You talked about in your opening statement, choice being down to $821 million and the fact that there was additional dollars in community care and you wanted to transfer it. You had put out a rule, edict, I don't know, what do you want to call it? What's it called?
Directive.
Directive, that's
right.
Better. A few days ago that said that you wanted to go to the original intent on choice, and so that would dry up a lot of how the dollars were spent. And then a day or two later, you rescinded that. Thank you for the breakfast yesterday. We had a great breakfast, and we talked yesterday about potentially doing a fix legislatively. I was told today that another directive was put out today that reinstated that rule to go back to the and so that's all I ask. In that uncertainty, by the way, and I won't speak for everybody on this committee, but I got a notion it will be this way for everybody on the committee, does not add confidence to the VA moving forward. I'll just tell you. So you get my drift?
Absolutely. Let me just say, and listen, yes. I would not disagree or argue with you. The choice program has been difficult to administer, difficult to understand, and very complex. Yeah. The first memo was rescinded and remains rescinded because what it said is, do not go to choice. We do not mean that. What we've tried to do is provide guidance to say you can use choice, and we want you to use choice appropriately, but we have community care funds. We want you to use those. We understand, but it's different than the first memo.
Okay. Well, I would just say this, communication is a very good thing, and we need to have communication. The breakfast we had yesterday was very, very important. I think everybody who was at that breakfast will do it. Hopefully we can do more of them. But there was never an indication of this happening at the breakfast yesterday, or we could have talked about it some more. And I do not want to micromanage the VA. It's your baby. You'd hang me out to dry if I tried to do it, and rightfully so. But we just need predictability, and that's all. And by the way, and when I say we, this committee, but more importantly, the people sitting behind you need that predictability.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, things are going to go upside down pretty quick. I got a bunch more questions, but I'll refer to the next person on line.
Okay.
Senator Moran.
On page 3 of your testimony, you point out, I think, what most veterans organizations and veterans know, that by and large, the VA has a pretty good healthcare system. And you quote a study published by the Journal of the American Medical Association where researchers compared hospital-level quality 9 VA hospitals with over 4,000 non-VA hospitals, and you found that you have better in the VA on 6 of 9 patient safety indicators, and the other 3 were about the same. That's pretty good. I mean, that speaks pretty well for the system that you're. And what I do not want to see, and I think Senator Tester, many of us do not want to see, is shifting of funds that go to traditional VA healthcare to the choice program. The choice program, we've had a long discussion. We will continue to discuss that. But I am a little bit distressed that a significant amount of money in President Trump's budget is going to choice, not quite so much going to traditional VA. Other question. You mentioned on page 9 what is obvious. You say that V.A.A. is the largest healthcare system in the U.S., and in an industry where there is a national shortage of healthcare providers. We have a major doctor's crisis, especially in certain areas, primary healthcare relief, maybe psychiatry, psychology.
Those are the 2 biggest, yes.
Okay. A couple of years ago when I helped work on the major veterans bill, we expanded a program for medical education. It was the Section 302 of the Health Professionals Educational System Program. And what that does, essentially, Mr. Chairman, is what it does is help. As you know, medical school is now outrageously expensive, which is a very serious problem. So I talk to young doctors who are $300,000–400,000 in debt. Okay? They're not going to go working probably at the VA. They're going to go working where the money is. I would like to see that program expanded. What it does is it provides debt forgiveness. You want to work for the VA for X number of years, we will forgive the debt that you have incurred in medical school. Is that an idea that makes sense to you?
Senator Sanders, both of the ideas that you said and that the ranking member talked about make a great deal of sense to me. I do not want to see VA care diluted because we're getting more veterans in the community. I want to see more veterans in the community because they need the care and VA can't provide it right now. So what we're proposing and hoping to work with you in this new choice program are the 2 things you've talked about. Right now we're restricted to a 1% transfer from care in the community back into the VA or vice versa. We'd like to see that aperture open so that we could actually take money that was in the budget for sending veterans out and reinvesting more of it into the VA. We think that's very, it should be done at the local level when every local VISN makes its decision about what services the VA needs to strengthen in. On the GME issue, graduate medical education, couldn't agree with you more. The program that you were helpful in crafting was a great success.
Is it working well?
It is. It is. And we need to do more of it. We are proposing exactly what you're saying, which is creating more GME spots. The country needs them. VA would pay for them. And in exchange, it would be like the military or public health service.
Or the National Health Service Corps.
Or the National Health Service Corps. Afterwards, they would give 5 years back to the VA.
So, Mr. Chairman, this is an issue where I think we can go a long way in attracting excellent physicians and nurses, perhaps, into the VA by doing expanding the debt forgiveness program, which I understand is already working well. And I would look forward to working with you on that. Last question is, I'm quoting from a publication called Families USA. Cutting Medicaid would hurt veterans. Efforts in Congress to cut Medicaid jeopardize a critical source of health coverage for veterans. Approximately 1.75 million veterans, nearly 1 in 10, have Medicaid as a source of coverage. If the Republican health care plan goes through, and I'm going to do everything I can to see that it doesn't, but if it does go through and Medicaid is cut by over $800 billion in a 10-year period, I assume that means that a lot more veterans are going to be flocking into the VA. Am I correct on that?
I would think so. We are a safety net organization, and we tend to have veterans without other health access come to the VA. And I don't want to sound like a politician, but as the chairman said, our role is to provide that care. And so we would.
So if veterans lost their Medicaid, there is a reasonable possibility many of them would turn to the VA for care.
I believe so.
And you would need additional help to accommodate that large number of veterans.
Yes.
Thank you very much.